This will be part 2 of the World War I overview lecture, picking up with Battlefronts, starting with the Schlieffen Plan, which was Germany's strategy to win World War I. So in August of 1914, Germany put the Schlieffen Plan into effect. The plan was to defeat France quickly, in about 6 weeks, before Russia was ready to fight. Germany put about 85% of its troops on the Western Front. Since the French and German border was heavily fortified by French troops, Germany had to go through Belgium, where there were not many forts. Britain had signed a treaty to defend Belgium if attacked, so going through Belgium brought the British into the war as well. And I want to remind you that Belgium was neutral before Germany marched through Belgium to get into France. Now, things did not work out the way the Germans had planned. Their first surprise was that the Belgians slowed them down. So naturally, when Belgium was invaded by Germany, the Belgians fought back, which the Germans were not really expecting. Surprise number 2, the British sent an army into France, which Germany did not expect either. So the British sent reinforcements to help the French fight back against the Germans. And the third surprise for the Germans is that the Russians managed to get an army into the field more quickly than expected, which threatened eastern Germany. And so Germany had to send some of the troops to the eastern front to defend against Russia, and then they were caught in a two-front war. One of the first battles of World War I was the Battle of the Marne, and this took place in September of 1914. And the British and the French stopped the German advance just outside of Paris at the First Battle of the Marne. And the miracle of the Marne saved Paris, and that was where 600 taxi cabs were used to bring 6,000 soldiers to the front at the last minute. The western battle lines then hardened, and neither side advanced much for the next 4 years. So if you see the yellow line on the map, that's about where the front lines were for about 4 years of the war. There was new technology which led to high casualties, and the defensive strategy, which was trench warfare, and new technology led to high casualties. One man with a machine gun could stop a much larger group, and this led to very little progress, but very heavy casualties throughout the war. For example, in 1916, the Germans tried to advance by taking the French fortress of Verdun. The combined casualties were 1 million men, and eventually the Germans realized that the fortress wasn't really important to their plans, and they gave up. Another example is the British tried to advance at the Battle of the Somme. The combined casualties for that were over 1 million. There was no real gain, and this is symbolic of what was happening on the Western Front. Massive battles that took several months with very little gain and very high casualties. The success for the Central Powers, so Germany and Austria and the Ottoman Empire, despite heavy resistance from Serbia, Germany and Austria were able to take over Serbia by 1916, and 1/6 of all Serbians died during the war, and that's through the total population. So 1 out of every 6 Serbians died during the war. There were heavy civilian casualties. And then another victory for the Germans. The Germans were able to defeat the Russians on the Eastern Front because Russia was much less technologically advanced. Over 1 million Russians were killed, and over 1 million Russians were taken prisoner. The Russians also ran out of food, weapons, and ammunition, and men were sent to the front without guns or with only 3 bullets a day. The Russian Revolution of 1917 brought Russia's involvement to an end. This allowed Germany to concentrate entirely on the Western Front, and we'll pick up with that in a few days with the entrance of the United States.